Muppets Now, episode 6, the final episode called Socialized, now on Disney+. I'm going to review each segment, pick my favorite, and I want to hear from you as well. Welcome back to Eye to Eye, Disney Through Our Eyes. My name is Kyle, and this is our Disney Variety channel where we cover anything and everything Disney and share our perspectives through our eyes. If you haven't yet, please consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell as well, so you never miss an opportunity to check out some of our content. The final episode of Muppets Now for Season 1 has arrived, and I think there's been a lot of mixed reviews for this series overall, definitely from me as well, but I am still sad to see that it's already over. Only 6 episodes in this season. You just can't get enough Muppets, in my opinion. Now, I will stress again, there are some frequent segments and repeated ones that we've talked a lot about that I've expressed some personal, not so much enthusiasm for, but there were some redeeming qualities in this one, and I do think this was a high mark for the series to go out on, especially after my second watching. I will stress that again. If you haven't, try to watch it twice through, because that first time it maybe doesn't land as well. You don't catch some of the jokes. I think Muppets is set up to watch a couple of times in a row because they're very short episodes and very easy to consume in one sitting. As always, we have 4 segments in each episode of Muppets Now to review and give our impressions on. The ones that we'll be taking a look at in episode 6, Socialized, are Muppets Lab, Field Test, Okie Dokie Cooking, Mupp Close and Personal, and, again, Lifestyle with Miss Piggy. Let me take you through each of those segments now. I'll give you my impressions and pick my favorite one at the end. Segment number 1 is Muppets Lab Field Test, and that means Bunsen and Beaker are back again. This is one I think that's had 5 editions of it now, maybe 4 or 5, and I think this is one of the segments that has needed to stay on frequently because who doesn't love Bunsen Beaker and their antics? As always, they're going to be testing some aspect of science with a special guest usually, and this time the special guest is Joe from Legal, or Joe the Legal Weasel if you want to use his full name. The aspect of science that they want to test in this edition is simply chemistry, and that's a very broad topic, but they kind of narrow it down to this. We want to mix some things together and make them go boom, sizzle, or pop, which I think is part of the reason why you see Joe from Legal here. The funny way of continuing to send out that disclaimer that they do before each of these segments, but also have him there. Please, we're going to be funny about this, but do not try this at home. I think they're really trying to make sure they cover their butts if anybody wants to do what Bunsen and Beaker are doing on screen. So they start out by mixing some very basic things, salt and water, salt and soda, some very harmless things that basically everyone has tried either in their home or in a science lab that you had in elementary school. And typically the first part of the experiment that Bunsen and Beaker do doesn't satisfy Bunsen's sadistic nature, and he wants to take it up a next level, and so they get the idea to combine a few of these elements to make one of those. You've seen these videos on the internet where they mix some things in a test tube and this big foamy thing pops up and makes all these little interesting colors and just a sheer amount of it. And I think they mix hydrogen peroxide, potassium iodine, and something else in it as well, and it does create this really flume of stuff that just is really interesting looking and kind of grosses you out a little bit too. Overall, I really enjoyed this segment. I think it was a very broad subject for them to cover, but it was probably the most in-depth and most visually appealing aspect of science they've done this season. Segment number 2 is Okie Dokie Cooking. It is back, and that means Swedish Chef is back as well, competing against another celebrity chef for some type of dish that they can do alongside each other. This time the celebrity chef is Marina Michelson, and they'll be doing meatballs. Now specifically, Marina does these Mediterranean lamb meatballs in a yogurt sauce. Very interesting. I don't know that that's going to really agree with my very simple palate, but Chef wants to compete, but on a different level, doing, of course, Swedish meatballs. Here's the catch though. He doesn't want to show you the recipe or what he's doing, which is funny for the first part of it, but he makes this like mound of dishes and stuff that you can't see him, and thus kind of removes him from the bulk of the segment. And that concept for this segment, I think, is ultimately its downfall, because then it relies on Beverly Plume, the Muppet host, and then the special guest, this time Marina, to really carry the episode. And I think if it's supposed to be all about laughs and funny, when you basically remove the chef from that for a bulk of this segment, it really suffers just a little bit. Nothing against Marina, great cook, and I'm not going to take anything away from her. Or Beverly's a funny Muppet. it just removes the idea, the concept from the segment. Now, Marina does end up completing her dish, and it looks lovely, of course. Again, not for me though, just because I'm very picky when it comes to eating. But Swedish Chef creates a Swedish meatball. And when I say a meatball, I mean a meatball, because it is giant, it is large, and honestly looks a little bit better, something more up my alley, even though obviously it's fake. But it was a really funny end to the segment. I just think overall the segment suffered a little bit because of what we've already discussed. Segment number 3 is Mupp Close and Personal. It is back for its 3rd edition in this season. This is one of those segments that I wish they had utilized more, because it's the perfect for the concept of unscripted format that they had and the ideation that they had for this series. And originally I thought that this was going to be all Kermit interviewing celebrity guests, but they've used a different Muppet and a different celebrity guest each time, which now that I've kind of seen it, I've bought into it a little bit. I do wish that Kermit had his own segment to call his own. I thought this was going to be it. But this time Fozzie Bear is going to be interviewing Seth Rogen. And it's pretty funny, honestly. It's one of my favorite segments that I've watched throughout the entire series. And I really enjoyed seeing Seth interact with Fozzie in an unscripted format. And he's a comedian, so he gets it. He knows how to, that give and go, that kind of just, you gotta go with the flow type of nature. I think it just worked really well for me. The idea behind this edition of Up Close and Personal is that they're going to be talking about working in the comedy industry, which they both have some success at, one more than other. Looking at you, Fozzie. And they'll talk about their experiences with that. But they get interrupted by some Muppet babies that are very interesting and a little bit bad. And it's pretty, it was kind of annoying at first, but they kind of grew on me with their comedic value, especially the way that Seth played off of them. I can't stress this enough, Disney, bring me some more of this segment if you end up doing a season 2. This one was a big winner for me. And finally, that brings us to our final segment and the ending of season 1 of Muppets Now with the segment Lifestyle with Miss Piggy. It's what we began with. We might as well end with it. I did not anticipate having 6 editions of this, and I was kind of hoping not to. However, this one actually caught my attention and kept me energized the entire time for it. So by now, you probably know the gist of this segment. Miss Piggy is hosting a YouTube, Instagram type of channel sort of thing, and they'll be tackling a topic. This one is on indulgences, and there are 3 mini segments. One is Try It with Tay Diggs, Tips from the Top, and then La Chat Room with Linda Cardellini and some Muppet guests at the very end of this. Here's the thing that won me over for Lifestyle with Miss Piggy finally. The fact that they included some obscure sponsor that they made up as part of her social media channel that she's developing right here. And the sponsor was Leaky Bucket. It was the running gag that was missing throughout this entire season for this segment. And I loved it because it just kept coming up. It was, it didn't land well at first, but then it kept coming back and kept coming back all the way to the end of the episode. That is what should have happened throughout this entire season for this segment. The other thing that they did really well is that they pulled Miss Piggy back from the spotlight just a little bit and let Uncle Deadly take a little bit of almost equal ground with Miss Piggy. And I thought that that's something that really could work well in the segment going forward. And if you include the whole sponsor gag in as well, here I am at the very last segment of Muppets Now, smiling and really enjoying something that I thought I hadn't the entire season. Now it's time for me to pick which segment I thought was the best, and I'll go ahead and mention the other ones and rank them, I guess, in some sort of fashion here. At the bottom for me, it's actually going to be Swedish Chef's Okie Dokie cooking. I just hate to put him there, but they really, I thought, messed this segment up with the way it was conceptualized. You don't remove the heart and soul of the segment and it doesn't suffer. So you've got to consider that going forward if you're going to be doing Okie Dokie cooking in a season 2. Next, I would put Muppets Lab Field Test. There's really nothing wrong with this segment. In fact, as I said, I thought they did a really good job of visualizing this concept of science that they did. It just was kind of average and par for the course for me that I've seen throughout the entire season for Muppets Lab Field Test. Right up above them, I'm surprised that I'm saying this, I'm going to put Lifestyle with Miss Piggy. It really caught me off guard with how much I enjoyed it, the way they inserted the sponsor in this, and it really worked well, thus deserving to be in the top 2. And finally, the winner for me is Mupp Close and Personal, this time with Fozzie Bear interviewing Seth Rogen. And I really think they missed the mark by not having this occur more throughout the season. I really think it's a great idea. a great concept, and really visualizes the unscripted format. So that is my winner for this episode. Now this is where you come in. I want to hear from you. What is your favorite segment from the final episode of Muppets Now Season 1? Let me know down there in the comments section below and keep the conversation going. Now, if you'd like some more Muppets Now content from our channel, I'm going to be putting some links for you in the description below, and you can find some of those listed above in this video. I've really enjoyed watching this series and actually reviewing it as well, and I hope that you have enjoyed watching these reviews, and we might see a season 2. Who knows? There might be some hope for it in the future. That's all I have for you in this edition of Eye to Eye, but until we assemble again, may the Force be with you, and I'll see you real soon.